The Renaissance and the Middle Ages are both modern terms. I just want to underscore that. They were terms given to these two periods that we talk about often by modern people. But in many ways, the concept of the Middle Ages is invented in the Renaissance. It's a product of the Renaissance view of the world. A person living in the era that we call the Middle Ages is not aware that he or she is living in the Middle Ages. He or she does not wake up and say, gosh, I really feel terrible that I live in this medieval world. They consider themselves to be living in a rich present, which is full of its own triumphs and challenges and its own positive things and negative things. And moreover, they don't see themselves as being separated from the world of the classical past. Medieval kings and emperors consider themselves to be the heirs of Rome. The church itself has adopted Roman institutions, as we've mentioned and talked about, so that in many ways the power of ancient Rome is seen to carry over into medieval monarchies and also into the medieval church. So there really isn't any consciousness of difference. What produces this consciousness? The Italian poet Francesco Petrarca is the first person that we know about who locates himself in a conscious way as existing in a world that is not Roman. In other words, he feels that something has been lost, that there is no longer any continuity between the greatness of Rome and the present day. In other words, he sees himself as living in a debased world. So in a way, he locates himself as living in a Middle Age. And in fact, the concept of the Middle Ages in a Christian context is not the medieval period that we know. It's the dark age between the fall of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and the birth of Jesus Christ. That's the Middle Ages in the Christian context, the Dark Ages. And of course, Christ enlightens that age, and we all live in the light of Christ's resurrection. But Petrarch took this concept and he applied it to his own time, and he said everything that separates me from the greatness of Rome is medieval, is the middle, and we have to. And what he set himself up to do was recover that past. So here's the essential difference, which is that whereas a medieval worldview sees itself as being bound up to and connected with the classical past, a Renaissance worldview wants to revive, as that word means. It wants to give rebirth to that classical age because it perceives that that classical age is dead.